Hello, I'm Paul Nisi from FrontTowardsGamer.com.
And I'm Scott Cates of the Comic Station.
And this is Comic Station issue number 37 for September 11th, 2013. For the new releases for September 11, 2013, we're going to kick off with, from Zenescope, Hit List number 1. Zenescope has been putting out a lot of the Unleashed titles and everything, but this is a standalone title. And not only is it standalone, but they're taking it in a new direction for the company, whereas most of their titles are more of a horror action. This is more of a pure action adventure. This one actually follows, if you can't tell from the title, hit women. And there's a man in there as well, don't worry, it's not all women. First of all, right off the bat, beautiful artwork. I really like the artwork from Civi Cavella. It's similar to the rest of the product line, but I think it actually brings a more subdued realism to it, and I found myself really enjoying it. Ralph Tedesco is one of the founders and presidents, and he wrote this, and it is quality. It starts right off with action, then it slowly takes you from on the downhill towards more of an actual deep plot, some intersecting subplots running along it as well. Basically, the first assassin you meet is Ryan, who's kind of new. She really kicks butt, but she's a little bit messy. She gets the job done, but not in a clean manner. Mike, however, is a little bit more of an old hat. He's used to it. He's more professional. He knows how to clean up his mess. It's interesting to see the dynamic between the two, as well as the, I guess, the company that kind of runs them. But the problem with Mike is he might be going a little soft. He has a family and so forth, so it might end up getting him into some trouble. The worst thing I can say about this is actually it was too short. As far as the pages, actually normal length of pages, but by the time I was done, I kind of wanted more out of it. And while that's the worst thing I could say about it, that's not a bad thing. So I'm looking forward to the rest of this. I believe this is a short series and might go longer, so I think it's off to a great start.
Well, as usual with stuff we review from Zenescope, you know, obviously the artwork speaks for itself.
Absolutely.
And it's nice to know that they're taking it in a slightly different direction. You're not getting just the fluff, you know, and there's
this
a lot
is definitely a more serious title.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff coming out of Zenescope.
So, the next one, going back to the fluff, is Mythopolis from Ardden Entertainment. Interesting. The artwork is interesting. The subject matter definitely does not shy away from the sleaze and the adult material. You got sleazy politicians. You have a stripper wife that has some connections to this sleazy politician. A dirty cop is the husband. You got a lot of interesting things going on here. There's a lot of political intrigue, a lot of backstabbing. Not yet, but a lot of building up to some backstabbing going on. A lot of different people trying to do maybe double crosses or using somebody that will pay off down the road. All this is while at the bottom of the page, a little confusing at first, but essentially it's a countdown to a bomb. However, at the end, it really throws in a wrench, kind of out of left field. Not quite sure how I like it. However, it's not a bomb that you would think of. There's a little bit of a supernatural tie-in here at the end, and some mythical creatures. Not quite sure how it's going to play, and I kind of think that took away from the realism of the storyline.
Well, Ardden being a smaller publisher, you may not have read some of their stuff. They've had other stuff out in the past that I know I've read. Generally it's a quality product.
It was really good. It's just that last page when they threw that little curveball in there. I'm not quite sure how I like the curveball against the rest of the material. However, again, we'll see how it goes with future issues.
And I will mention this also about Mythopolis itself. There's multiple covers. This one that Paul showed you has the dancer on it. There's also one of the businessman, and so on and so forth. So it just depends what your shop gets if they get a lot of the small titles.
Again, have to re-emphasize, not shy about the sleaze and adult material. Nothing terribly overt, but there's a lot of implied stuff going on there. You get the honors of reviewing this one.
Mighty Avengers #1 from our good friends at Marvel. Paul and I discussed this before, and our the best review guy could give it was,
Succinct. I like it.
You know, you're getting Luke Cage. If you miss Luke Cage from the regular Avengers or the new Avengers, whatever he's been in, you know, he was in the Thunderbolts for a while. It's a tie into Infinity. It allows Marvel to launch another title. There's a little bit of Thanos in it. You know, it's basically Luke, you know, trying to return to Heroes for Hire, but he decides along the way, he gets a little bit of a conscience and says, you know, I got to make the world a better place for my wife and my kid, blah, 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 blah.
Typical story for Luke.
Yeah, and, you know, the artwork's fine in it. Story's okay. It's just, it really didn't do anything for me. It's just, okay, I read it.
Yeah. I did like some of the artwork. It was a little more dynamic. It wasn't boxed in too much. The next one we have is actually another Infinity title from Marvel. This is The Hunt #1. Kind of a misnomer on the title and cover. Really, this issue is just introducing the fact that Logan and for the X-Men and Hank Pym and from the Avengers, they're all kind of collecting these groups of teens, kids that are all learning from these different academies. And there's about 6 academies that are all being brought in together to put on this contest of champions. Basic idea is to have the kids compete in kind of a Summer Olympics kind of feel about it. They're going to compete, and the idea is to foster camaraderie and working together. You get bonus points for your teammanship and everything. Really, this issue just it's an intro to the 6 schools. They go through literally down the line. Just this is the school. These are some students. You get a little insight into each of the. They usually show 2 or 3 students from that school, and a little bit of insight of their conflicts or their motivation. So it's. But that's pretty much it. By the end of it, you find out that they get interrupted. One school is destroyed. Another school is missing, maybe destroyed, and it leaves off on that. In the end, it doesn't really amount to anything. It just really amounted to a list of schools and the character standing there thinking something. Didn't get to anything. So it really could have just moved along a lot faster. So unfortunate. Interesting idea. Maybe has some potential later. They do some call outs and little C notes on the Avengers Arena. But as a standalone on itself, it didn't go anywhere.
They'll have to tie it into. I mean, Avengers Arena has actually been a really good book. So they'll have to figure out a way to tie it in. This Infinity thing it's weaving its way into too many things probably.
This one feels like a stretch. The last one we have here is from Valiant. This is Eternal Warrior #1. First off, really, really nice artwork in here. I really like the fact that it starts off with an ancient battle. They're a woolly mammoth at one point, and the general idea, if you can't tell from the title, is Eternal Warrior. He's immortal, and it shows back here where an actual conflict happened between his family members, and he actually ends up fighting his daughter, and it shows a little bit of maybe he's, I don't want to say soft, but the mentality wasn't conducive for the times. And then it shows, so that's about the first half, which is really interesting. I like the fight scenes, beautiful fight scenes, and then the second half suddenly develops a plot, and I liked it, but again, grabbed my attention. I'll probably read #2. Interested to see where it goes, though. Big spoiler, he may not be the only one that's immortal.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's it.
Yeah, Valiant usually does quality work.
Beautiful artwork.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see how it all plays out.
I think this is probably going to be more of the in the long run. Maybe get a collection of these and read them all at once and really delve into it, because I really lost myself within the first half. And so they may be able to pick up and be a amazing collection, while separately maybe a little stumbling. So. Alright, next we have our reviews coming up. For our reviews today, we're going to start off with Reality Check number 1 from Image Comics. This is, the best way I can explain it, is a Russian nesting doll of tropes, parodies, tropes, parodies. Basically, the storyline really just follows a comic book creator and some of the issues that he faces. A lot of the situations are very typical. They're set up to be understandable and relatable, or funny in certain circumstances. Following this formula, it actually is, there is a lot of humor. It's a very easily related character. Willard is the artist. The problem is those same things that are able to let you into the story so well also cause a lot of friction, because they are tropes and parodies for a reason. They're just kind of, they're expected. They kind of get they kind of grate on you after a little while of just constantly seeing them one after another. And I can understand why they're used. I mean, they're tropes for a reason, because they're effective, but using them one after another really just kind of takes away from the story itself. The storyline really does start off kind of expected as well. He goes through a lot of personal issues. He's very bad at social life, and his brother is very good at social life. He's the jock. And then through circumstances, he experiences some losses, and he goes to a childhood reality, trying to do something from his childhood and creating a comic, and he puts a lot of himself and his people from his life into the comic. This comic within a comic section has been done before again. It's interesting. It does come off a little hokey, which helps separate it from the rest of the comic, but it does stand out. The big hook, though, is actually separating from these tropes when it finally, at the very end, sets up to be a metafictional idea where this comic character is the embodiment of a lot of his issues and problems, and he puts himself into it, and then that character comes out of his comic and comes into the real life. On the cover of it, you see his character, Dark Hour, is there, and he's freaking out. So that's the hook, that's the interesting part of it, and that's the redeeming part of it. It is amusing, but the tropes get to you. So overall, not bad, interesting idea, a lot of potential, but doesn't really amount to it at the end. The next issue we have actually comes out today. This is Brain Boy number 1 from Dark Horse Comics. This was an original 1960s miniseries, kind of classic collection, about 4 issues, about a superhero comic from Dell Comics back when they were around, and he gets superhero powers, telepathy, and he's fighting communism. In this reimagining of it, he's a telepathic agent for the Albright Industries that's kind of leased out to the United States Secret Service. And again, he's a telepath. So he's kind of on top of the world, and while he's kind of smug about it, he is a likable character. He's a relatable character. He's been put through a lot. He's very bored with people. So that's actually a good indication of the writing, that he is likable despite being very smug and very king of the world. So the story sets him up where what happens when you are king of the world, you're smug, you're a telepath, but you find out you don't know everything. Matter of fact, everything you know may be wrong. So not only is he in physical danger, at a certain point enemies show up that he didn't expect, but he's also psychologically, just how does he deal with it as well? That's the real rub on this. And again, it's a really interesting storyline. I did enjoy this, and the pacing is really good at first. Then it kind of wavers near the end when they start throwing in some new ideas, and again, the wrench thrown in here is also the catch, so it's a little bit of a catch-22, but it's interesting. At the end of this, I do want to read more about it, but I'm holding reservations. And that's our reviews for this week.
Yeah.
Yep.
Not much else. This is actually kind of a slow week.
Yes. So hopefully we'll have more next week. Matter of fact, we already have 3 in the bucket for next week, so those will be showing up, so don't worry about that. Also, I will be going on vacation on the 25th. We'll be working out something where we'll be able to show. Maybe Lita will have a guest return or something.
There we go.
So, alright. And as always, I am Paul Nisi from Front Towards Gamer.
And I'm Scott Cates of the Comic Station.
And we will see you next week.